Right now, there are thousands of planes in the air, crossing continents, flying overseas, connecting cities that are a 12-hour flight away. But there is an ocean that almost no one crosses, the largest on the planet, the one that occupies a third of the Earth's surface. And it's not a coincidence. There is a reason. And when you discover it, you'll never look at a flight map the same way again. In the next few minutes, you'll understand why planes circle the Pacific instead of crossing it. But more importantly, you'll discover that behind this decision lie physics, history, money, and a security system that most passengers are completely unaware of. It's not just one reason, there are several, and they keep piling up. And in the end, there's a fact that almost no one knows that changes everything. Open any flight tracking app. Right now, search for a flight between Los Angeles and Tokyo. What you see on the screen looks like a mistake. The route isn't heading west. It's heading out into the Pacific. It curves upward, northward, toward Alaska, as if the plane is avoiding something. And in a way, it is. But the reason isn't what you would think. The primary culprit behind this confusion is the Mercator projection. It's the flat map you've seen your whole life, the one with Europe at the center that makes Greenland appear larger than Africa. That map is misleading. And the strangest thing is, it has no other choice. Because every flat map of the planet is bound to distort something. Distance, sizes, or trajectories. And when we talk about long-haul flights, this distortion can make a perfectly normal route seem like an absurd detour. The Earth is round, and on a sphere, the shortest route between 2 points isn't a straight line on a map. It's a curve that follows the planet's surface. It's called a Great Circle Route. And when you plot the Great Circle route between Los Angeles and Tokyo, the route goes north, passes close to Alaska, and then down towards Japan. That's not a detour. That's the shortest path. There's an easy way to visualize this. Imagine you have a globe and stretch a string between Los Angeles and Tokyo. The string doesn't cross the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It's taut, pointing upwards, towards the north. That rope is the real route. The flat map only showed you an illusion. And this doesn't just apply to that flight. It applies to almost all long-haul flights. The routes between Europe and the United States aren't straight either. They go up towards Greenland, towards the Arctic, and then down towards the destination. Because the planet is shaped that way. And physics doesn't compromise. But here's something most people don't know. Airplanes don't always follow the shortest route either. There's something invisible that moves airplanes like pieces on a chessboard. They're called jet streams. They're extremely high-speed winds that circulate at about 10,000 meters, 30,000 feet in altitude. They can reach speeds of 320 kilometers per hour, 200 miles per hour, faster than some propeller planes. And they always travel in the same direction, from west to east. That means that a plane flying from Asia to America has that wind pushing it from behind. It arrives sooner. It uses less fuel. The airline saves millions. The passenger arrives rested. Everyone wins. But the plane making the journey in the opposite direction has that same wind in its face. And at 320 kilometers per hour, 200 miles per hour. Against it, the impact is enormous. The engine works harder. The flight lasts longer. The fuel runs out faster. And that costs money. So what does it do? It avoids it. It veers north where the jet stream is weaker. The result is a route that seems absurd on a map, but in reality makes perfect sense. Jet streams aren't always in the same place. They shift position depending on the season. That's why pilots and route planners study them before every flight. Today's route isn't exactly the same as yesterday's. There's an entire team whose sole job is to find the most efficient trajectory for each flight. This explains something few people notice. The flight from Tokyo to Los Angeles takes about 10 hours. The return flight can take almost 12. Same route, same plane, almost 2 hours difference. The culprit? The wind. But there's another reason to avoid the Pacific that has nothing to do with wind or geometry. It has to do with what happens if something goes wrong 35,000 feet above the world's emptiest ocean. And here's a problem that almost no one considers. The Pacific looks enormous on a map. In reality, it's even bigger. And yes, it has islands. But very few have the necessary infrastructure to serve as an alternative to a commercial airliner in an emergency. And when you are transporting hundreds of passengers 11,000 meters above the planet's largest ocean, that matters a lot. Aviation regulations have an answer for that. Depending on the type of aircraft, it must always remain within a maximum flight time of an alternate airport. In some cases, that limit is 60 minutes. In others, it can be up to 180. But there's always a limit. It's not optional. It's not a recommendation. It's a rule. And that rule exists because there have been real-life situations where minutes mattered, where arriving at a runway first made the difference between an incident and a catastrophe. For a long time, that severely limited routes over the Pacific. Too little room for error. And yet, some flights began to cross it. The question is how they managed it. There is a route that truly crosses the Pacific from end to end, and it's operated by an airline you know, the flight between Auckland and New York. Almost 17,000 kilometers. More than 17 hours in the air, one of the longest commercial routes on the planet. And yes, it crosses the Pacific. How is that possible if we said there are regulations that prevent it? Because not all airplanes are subject to the same rules. Modern long-range aircraft, like the Boeing 787 or the Airbus A350, have such advanced redundant systems that authorities allow them to fly much farther from an alternate airport. They have passed extreme tests. Their engines are certified to fly in conditions that would have been unthinkable 30 years ago. Technology changed the rules, and the rules changed the routes. But the Pacific remains the ocean that most airplanes avoid. Not because it's impossible to cross, but because in most cases it makes more sense not to. What appears to be a minor detail on a map hides physics, regulations, economics, and decades of aeronautical engineering. Every time a plane takes that detour over Alaska, it's not wasting time. It's following the most efficient logic there is. The sky isn't governed by what we see on maps. It's governed by what we don't see. The wind, the rules, and physics. If you found this interesting, the following video will leave you with the same feeling. It's right here.